Welcome to my studio. Today we are going to focus on a photograph that I took a couple of years ago in Zion National Park. They say you should really focus on what you love, and man, I love this park. I love a lot of national parks, but this place in particular, this is the Narrows, and when you hike in the Narrows, you're hiking back and forth along this river in a 1,000-foot deep ravine, and it's only 20 to 30 feet wide in places. It's incredibly majestic and adventurous. You really feel like you're in a huge adventure when you're up there. The colors are magnificent. This doesn't do it justice. We're going to pump this up. And these, I want you to see, these are little bitty people right here. Little bitty people. So I don't put a lot of people in my paintings. However, in this case, it gives you an idea of the scale of these huge cliffs. We're not even seeing the tops of them. Some things say they're 2,000 feet high. National Park says it's 1,000, so I'm going to go with that. But anyway, this is one of the most incredible places. Please visit if you get a chance, although it's becoming very popular, I will say. It's about 3.5 hours northeast of Las Vegas. So I took this snapshot. This is the size of the snapshot. What I'm going to do is put it in this format. I'm leaving more area on the sides because I want to do something kind of fun, fast and loose with this. We're going to have a lot of fun out here with the underpainting, maybe with some scribbling, and then we're going to tighten up toward the focal point. Now the layout of this, the composition, is kind of this vertical and then off to the side. I want to keep that. I do not want to put it in the middle. That would be boring. I'm going to keep it over here. So even though our outside proportions are very different from the photo, I'm still going to keep that opening and that light coming in over here and then emptying over there. Let's get started. So starting out, sometimes I go directly in with paint to do my sketch. In this case, I'm going to do a little bit of a sketch with Vine charcoal. Okay, just real quick. Not committing to a whole lot here. Like where it gets really narrow right there. And it opens up, kind of cathedral style. That back there is much further. See, that's much further than this. So I've got to make sure that I'm paying attention to that. This is not my first time to paint Zion. Zion has been an inspiration to me for many years. My husband and I first went out there, wow, a long time ago, before the kids were born. So it was way back. from that, I did a painting, actually the same place but looking back the other direction, and that was a 5-foot wide painting by 4 feet tall, I believe. And I sold it to a very nice doctor out in Baltimore, where that's one of his favorite places too. He later said he loves it because when he walks through his living room, he's taken right back to the Narrows, one of his favorite places on earth. So that's what we strive to do with our art. We want to be able to transport people to this image that we've put down. We want to make them feel that emotion that we feel when we're there, when we're looking at it. We're hoping to communicate that visually with them and pass that on. That's our gift. This final painting will be in oil, but I am going to start in acrylic. I often do this. I'll do an underpainting in acrylic. It dries really fast, so it doesn't slow your progress. Sometimes when I do underpainting in oil, I have to wait a couple of days depending on how much white is in the underpainting. So I've learned that it is just speedier to do the underpainting in acrylic. Okay, I'm not going to get caught up in detail. This is going to be fast and loose. So with vine charcoal, you put it on there, but then you take off the excess with a brush, just a dry brush, and you're left with a very faint impression. Okay, so as you can see, our underpainting is much more high contrast than our actual image. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to do something I haven't actually done before. I've got oil pastels, and I'm going to do some scribbling on it, and if I hate it, I'll be able to soften it with the oils because they're oil soluble. But anyway, I just feel like having some fun. Areas of the rock that have a lot of stripes in it, and I think that'll be fun to kind of mimic with these oil pastels. Doesn't show up as much on the dark. Orange. A lot of orange in this. Well, it doesn't really show up on that, but it'll show up over here. Vary your line. You know, right now I'm doing these little swirly squiggles. Before, you know, I'm doing scratching and Now, change it up. And we'll get really detailed. If you've seen some of my work, I'm very capable of tight detail. Just, you know, not what I'm going for here overall. I want it to be a lot more fun than that. Okay, I'm going to put these aside for right now and prepare my oil palette. I'm going to go over my palette with you. I'm not one of those people that, you know, they put out the perfect palette. Anyway, it changes. Some of these are comparatively pretty inexpensive paints. I do have some very high-end paints on here too. I will say that if you're a beginner, I would not initially go out and spend a whole bunch of money on high-end paints. I know there are people who disagree with me. They say, oh, you should start with the best. My viewpoint is that until you learn good technique, why bother? Why throw that money away? A really good painter can make cheap paints look expensive, but somebody who hasn't learned what they need to really know yet, I don't care if you buy the top paints out there, it's not going to help the end result. So I think start out with inexpensive paints and aspire to get better paints. So what's going to happen with the higher end paints, you're going to have more pigment. So you actually use or need less paint when you're mixing colors. So it does have that benefit to it, but still, if you're a beginner, don't spend a fortune on the paints. You might get discouraged by, oh gosh, I'm spending a fortune on this, and give up unnecessarily, you know, before you've reached where you need to be. So I kind of have a combination of, gosh, I might even have a couple of student grade in here, but I'll go through the colors, which you can get with about any brand of paint. So I'm not going to get so caught up on the brands. I've got cadmium red, medium, I believe. No, that's deep. Cad red deep hue. Now I have switched to hues for most of my paints because in my family cancer tends to be rampant. So I'm going with a less risky hue. Also I have orange, cadmium orange hue, and yellow, I'm sorry, I can't remember all these, cad yellow hue, ochre, yellow ochre. This is a transparent yellow ochre that I thought would be interesting to run over some of these. This is burnt umber, this is violet, and I have no idea if I'm saying this right. Ziox, let me see, this cobalt violet hue, and dioxazine purple. Over here we have ultramarine, cerulean blue, and Prussian blue, sap green, and what are we calling the light one? Oh, just yellow green. This, I have Naples yellow, which recently I think they've even pulled that. It was missing from the shelves for a long time. Not exactly sure what's going on with that. It may be something with the chemical properties of that. Couple of these I have down are very nice. One is a Cappuccine Deep Red, and the other is Red Umber. These, of course, are perfect for the types of rocks that we're going to be doing here. Solvent and my oil. Now, linseed oil makes me sneeze and makes my throat tickle, so I do not use linseed oil. I tend to use walnut oil. This is grapeseed oil. There's safflower oils. There's various oils that you can use that are not linseed oil if you have that same reaction. I love Gamsol as my solvent. And a couple of other things I laid out here that might be fun to use. I've got a metallic gold and a metallic copper. So who knows, we might throw that in there too. I'm going to start light in the background. Okay, so this right here is the furthest away from the eye. It's going to be the lightest or the least amount of contrast up in these areas. It will give the illusion of being farther away. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens to all these little crazy streaks that I made. Now one thing I love about oils over acrylics is that this will stay workable for some time. I can just put some paint on here and keep working it, coming back, soften the edges. Every now and then you'll see me get my fingers in there. And this gets very dark. But I have to say, even in the dark areas, when your photograph shows up the dark, there's color in there. Don't just jump to black. Very rarely do you have black in an area. I do at the very end, you know, I might come in to add just a little bit of extra punch with black, but I tend to come from the Monet school of thought where you don't use black. I am finally developing a website that brings it all together. So instead of just Trisha Selgrath Fine Art, it is going to be arttravels.gallery, where you can go and see all about our travels and the paintings. So you're seeing photographs of what inspired all of this. And the stories, and you can go to these exact locations. That's one thing I love, is that I'm presenting these amazing places that you can go to. I'm layering scribbles from the oil pastels and brushwork to create depth and interest. Okay, the camera cut off. I'm not sure exactly how far I had gotten before it cut off. So I took that opportunity to go to a friend's house. See, different clothes. We picked a wild violet salad out of her yard. And now I'm back. Yes, I'm that kind of weird. Anyway, I am going to get back to it, and I'll speed it up for you. The trick with rocks is painting the dark shadows first as ground, then adding the rocks as lighter paint on top. Make lots of varied strokes from different directions, different brushes, layers of color. I'm not trying to paint every rock that I see. I'm trying to give the impression of the rocks that are there. So don't drive yourself insane trying to do exactly what's there, but make sure that the overall feel of it is there. So, I mean, frankly, one big flash flood through there and those rocks could be in different places anyway. So don't drive yourself crazy with that. Make sure that there's more of a balance between, light and dark rocks that are there. Now, another thing to keep in mind, if you're doing rocks that are in the sunlight, that ground may have more of a burnt sienna base, a reddish, a warm base. And if it is in shadow, then the rocks will have a cooler base. That base may contain more blue and purple. Don't just put black down there. Make it more interesting than that. Okay, I'm seated now because I get tired of standing, especially when I'm doing detail. I love standing when I'm doing big strokes. It helps with the energy. But when I'm down to doing little detail, I'd rather sit. Keep in mind that the farther away something is, the less contrast it's going to have. So save your brightest brights and your darkest darks for the foreground. I had to turn off the lighting on the right because there was too much reflection on this. That's the thing about wet oil paint. It really reflects a lot of light. Some artists are really methodical with their paintings. They start in with the background and they come forward. They do one section at a time. I am not like that. I like to jump around. I'm constantly balancing and working, different areas, bringing more color, more shadow, more highlights. Just constantly balancing the piece. And I just enjoy jumping around. Some of these paintings go on for days. So for me, it's just more interesting to jump around. I started the artzXpress painting lessons before we left our suburban home and downsized and hit the road in a van for 3.5 years. So this video is actually from that time, and I've just now finished the video. But we went all over the West. Me and my husband, after our youngest went off to college, and we did van life for 3.5 years. So we went to these places that prior we had, always taken our kids to national parks and camped and all of that. But to now, to do it in a van, it's been amazing. Now, I'm starting to prepare the background there for the little people that are going to be in there. And like I said, I normally do not put people in my artwork because I'm focused on nature, but sometimes it's very important to have that scale, and that's especially true in a place like the Narrows, because it's hard to imagine the massiveness of these rocks. So I thought having people in there is very important. So here I'm really going in close to create that background for them. Now, the people, I try not to get overly fussy with them. This is Impressionism, after all. I'm just kind of giving the feeling of all of these things without getting real caught up in detail. Can I do that kind of work? Yes, I do have some ultra realism that I've done. But I find that, especially in a place like this, the loose brush strokes and all the color and just everything adds to the energy. Sorry, my head's in the way. I really am having to go in close there. Okay, so there's my little bitty brushes. I'm just making sure the tips are straightened out. And I gotta get my fingers in there. Can't help myself. This scene depicts the point of the hike where most people turn around, including me. I have not been past that point. You have to really get in the water, probably about up to your chest, to get around that corner of boulders, or that wall. So that's why this is depicting the time where you turn back. That's why it's called turning back. I do plan on getting around that corner someday and going farther, because I just love this place. So yeah, this is just depicting looks like two men, starting the many river crossings to go back the other direction. And I can't tell you how thrilling all this is. Now, the view that they have right now, looking the other direction, that is the view from the light. And I love that too. So to get to this place in the hike is just magnificent in both directions. It's really, really amazing. Go to the description for all of the links to the websites and the other channels. The Wonder Wonders is focused just on travel, typically. A little bit of art. artzXpress is about art lessons. And then Moving Abstracts is a brand new one for me, where I'm presenting a whole new collection that I'm also doing. these artworks are for sale. If it has been sold, I will tell you that in the description, and also you'll see on the website if it's been sold. Go to the brand new website is artzXpress.gallery. More scribbles. So much fun. I really enjoyed this technique, and I want to do it more often. This is actually my only painting that has this technique in it right now, and definitely something that I want to do more of. But if you're wanting the first of something, this would be the painting to get for that. Here is the finished artwork. It is for sale. There's a detail of those people, and there it is in situ, in place.